Good morning, my friends. And so you're not distracted by my ridiculously good looks. Hope everyone's doing well. Happy hump day. It's the 30th of December, New Year's Eve, as I like to refer to it. It's 9:59 in the AM. Actually, it just turned 10 o'clock in the AM Mountain Standard Time. If you are back east, obviously it's noon o'clock back east. If you're listening from elsewhere, I don't know what your time zone is. All I really know is Mountain Standard, Pacific Standard, and Eastern Standard Time. So, all right, let's get started. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate your time. I promise, a couple of things here. First of all, this is going to be a no BS, no fluff type of webinar. I'm not going to dance around the tactics or the strategies and make you sign up for this, that, or the other thing. Those of you that know me that are on this webinar today know full well that I'm a no BS kind of guy, and I'm going to give it to you guys straight. Okay. Second, this webinar is sponsored by my company called Rewritten. And Rewritten is designed to help you connect, engage, and stay in flow with your database, with your clients. Okay, so this is not going to be a sell for Rewritten. If you're interested in more information, you can visit rewritten.com. That's REWRITTN.com. All right, so let's get started. Your clients aren't dead, and neither is email marketing. So stop sending crap and start engaging. Where I got the stop sending crap from was, basically from some of these companies that are out there that are sending very generic type content to people's databases, the type of things where it's 752 ways to clean out your gutters, Aunt Sally's top 5 best apple pie recipes, the kind of stuff that your clients neither don't care about or, they just don't want to read, especially when it's not the time of the season, right? So we're not going to send your client something about cleaning out gutters when they're full of snow at this point, right? So the whole idea is to create content, get you guys creating content, the type of content that your clients are actually going to read and engage in. And so engagement means, replying back, those click-throughs. And that's exactly what we want, right? We have to understand who our audience is. And so why am I talking to you guys about this right now? Why did you sign up for this webinar? Well, probably because you saw, an email come through or a post on social media somewhere, Facebook or Instagram or something like that. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, and then we're going to jump into the rest of it. So I've been in real estate now into my 14th year, real estate coach. I ran a team. I owned a brokerage. I've been writing for 14 years, and I just really figured out about 5 years ago that I had a knack for it. I'm a husband, a father, a huge Packers fan. That people that know me know that I love the Green Bay Packers. I'm also a podcaster. I've got a little podcast called the Real Conversations Podcast. You can find that on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you find your podcasts at. Love to ski, coach my kids in baseball, had a great season this year, won the whole thing. I love beer, and I love to get in the gym whenever they're open. So that's a little bit about me. I love this quote by Dan Kennedy. If you guys have not read The Ultimate Sales Letter yet, I highly suggest that you pick up that book today. Buy it on Amazon, grab the audiobook, whatever you want, and give it a read, because it's going to absolutely blow your mind when it comes to creating content. And one of the things that he said in the book that I really quite love, actually, is this quote right here. It says, "The only asset that can be kept safe from every threat and made to appreciate and value year after year is the relationship you have with your customers." I mean, how telling is that for real estate agents, right? Our database, our customer list, our client list is our lifeblood. It's our lifeline. It's how we do business. And so if we aren't taking care of that database, we're going to be out of business in a short amount of time. You cannot continue just to, replenish with new leads and not expect to take care of those people that turn into a deal, a transaction, take care of those people, stay in contact with those people. Otherwise, you're going to be continually relying upon transaction, going into a transactional type business and reliant upon new leads and spending more and more money on new lead generation when you could really be expanding your return on investment by just creating content and sending it out to your database. So I'm going to get into the 5 ways to get your email rocking and your email marketing rocking as a lead pillar in your business. And so again, if you know me, you know I talk a lot about lead pillars. You know, your lead pillars could be things like online lead generation, email marketing, open houses when they were, you know, when we were allowed to do them, door knocking, whatever lead generation type, whatever, you know, is bringing leads into your business, that could be considered as a lead pillar. But first of all, I want to get into some stats to kind of give you guys an idea as to what is possible with email marketing and what other industries are doing right now. So 78% of marketers have seen an increase in email marketing campaigns. And so if you look at the bottom there, you see software and tech, ad agencies, e-commerce, media, travel. The amount of money that is being spent versus the amount of money being brought in is absolutely tremendous. So for every dollar that's being spent, you're looking at anywhere from $40 to almost $60 as a return on investment. And this research was done by a company called Litmus Research and provided by HubSpot. Currently, there are 3.9 billion email users worldwide. That's billion, not million. 3.9 billion email users worldwide. Average open rates for real estate are about 19.17%. This statistic is again provided by HubSpot, but is also arguable. There are companies out there like MailChimp that say that the average open rates for real estate are somewhere between 15 and 18%. Mobile opens account for 46% of all opens. 73% of, this is probably one of the most interesting statistic that I came across, is that 73% of millennials prefer communications from businesses to come via email. So, you know, we feel like millennials are all over social media. They prefer to be, you know, communicated to through Snapchat and through, you know, Instagram and Facebook and all of these different social media platforms. This is what the gurus keep telling us. But when it comes down to it, they'd rather be communicated to through email. 59% of the respondents said that email marketing actually influences their purchase decision. So another very interesting statistic. All right. So here are the top 5 things that we're going to dive into today. First, number 1, we're going to identify your goals for your list. Number 2, we're going to get you to understand your audience. Number 3, we're going to actually get into the structure of the email. Number 4, we're going to show you, not show you how to, but, you know, kind of describe as to why writing a killer subject line is so important. And then number 5, probably the most important part of this, is tracking, monitoring, and understanding your metrics. All right. Number 1, identifying your goals. So what should be your goal with your email list? Is it just information? Is it keeping top of mind? Is it continuing the conversation from when you last helped them? These are all valid questions, and I can give you the answer to all 3 of those questions with one answer, and the answer is yes. All of them. It is giving them relevant information. It is keeping top of mind. It is continuing the conversation. See, one of the biggest mistakes that I've done in my own business, and as well as I've seen in you know, coaching real estate agents for the last 6 or 7 years, is that most agents, they have these really great conversations with their client when they're out showing them property, when they're, you know, in the living room at the kitchen table, you know, going through the listing presentation, then eventually getting into listing the house and, you know, completing the transaction. What we're really, really bad at is the follow-up afterwards, is staying in flow with our contacts, staying in contact with our contacts. A lot of times we revert to these default type programs that send off, like I said before at the very beginning of the webinar, they send off this generic type content that isn't engaging, that isn't going to get your clients emailing you back saying, hey, this was interesting. Thanks for the follow-up. Thanks for the heads up. You know, thanks for the invite to this, that, or the other thing, right? Understanding what your goals should be for the list is essentially going to be this. And for every list that you're going to have, I'm going to talk a little bit about list segmentation throughout this webinar, but for each list that you have to understand what the goal is going to be. So, you know, for the list that you've got for online leads, okay, these are people that are going to be in the transaction. Your communication with them is going to be very different than it is with somebody that's already completed a transaction that you worked with a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago that you're hoping to get repeat referral business from. So understanding what your goals are is absolutely key. That's the reason why we put it at number 1, developing that strategy. Okay. Understanding that you have to segment your lists and then having those conversations with those lists that are going to be relevant to the funnel that they're in, the funnel that they find themselves in. All right. Number two, understanding your audience. Do you have multiple lists? This gets into list segmentation. So do you have a list for past clients? Do you have a list for current clients? That includes sellers, that includes buyers, right? Active buyers, active sellers. Those conversations are going to be very, very different than somebody that again, you helped purchase a property 2 or 5 or 10 years ago. So the active buyers, maybe you're going to have them on an email drip campaign that is going to be, specific to properties. So e-alerts, okay? Active sellers, maybe you've actually developed a drip campaign that's going to allow you to stay in contact with those sellers. What do those conversations look like? Maybe it's just an email that you're going to send on a weekly basis to the client. You're going to stay in flow with them, and you're going to basically tell them what's going on with the market. With the buyers, it's going to be the same sort of thing. You're going to let them know. You're going to be educating them as to what's happening with the market. Your list for your past clients. So these are people that purchased properties from you in the past. Typically, they're not going to be actively engaged in looking for a property, right? So the conversation that you're going to have with them is going to be very, very different. Are they going to want to know market statistic information? Yes, of course they are. Are they going to want to know that you are still in the business? Yes, of course they are. Are they going to want information that's going to be relative to their funnel? Absolutely. So that could be things like, what's happening in the community, what's happening in the city. Some of the emails that I've written that are scheduled to go out to my customers and rewritten, in January. One is a statistical based email that is not going to be heavy on stats. The design is only 4 data points and with very strong calls to action. The second email that goes out is a funky article that I found that talks about different sayings, and I relate that now back to real estate. I pulled out one of the sayings that was in this article of, top 10 sayings of we're not sure where they came from, but here's where they came from. I pulled out one of those sayings and I related it back to real estate with a strong call to action. So the call to action would be, hey, if you want more information on your neighborhood, if you want to be engaged in our list for people that get an equity home update once per year, let us know. Those are the CTAs that we want to have in those emails to keep in flow and keep in contact with our database. Now, how to structure the email. This is really, really important. A lot of people think that, if I'm going to sit down and write something, I've got to write in paragraphs like I would be if I were reading a book. And that is not the case. The structure of your email, you got to think about your paragraphs as 1 to 2 sentences. Because keep in mind, if we go back to a couple of slides ago, 46% of those emails that are being opened up on mobile. So think about what that looks like on that 5.5 inch or 6.5 inch screen. Okay, if you've got 1 to 2 sentences, that becomes a paragraph. If your paragraph is 4 to 5 sentences, that becomes the entire screen. And so we don't want people to read 4 to 5 sentences in one paragraph. We want to break down the email into bite-sized chunks so that they can digest it and then decide whether they're going to engage with it. Now, I know I started with number 3 there on the list, and I probably just started with number 1, but this is always my default, guys. I always go to this 1 to 2 sentences per paragraph because I want to kind of get you guys into that mindset of I'm not going to sit down and write a novel. I'm going to sit down and write in point form, but giving really good relevant information in that point form. So going back to number 1, the subject line and the preview are probably the most important parts as far as increasing open rates. Now, if you're using a program like MailChimp or Constant Contact or ConvertKit or whatever email software, email program you're using, there is, with the exception of Infusionsoft, you have the ability to actually put emojis into your subject line. Okay, so I'm on email lists where they've used multiple emojis in subject lines. I'm on email lists where they've used 1 to 2 or 3. You have to understand with emojis that most people are visual learners, right? So if you've got emojis that are eye-catching, that are relevant to the topic, definitely look to strategize and use those emojis within that subject line. It's going to help you to increase your open rates. Studies have been done around this. I know a lot of internet marketers and email marketers specifically that say exactly the same thing. Like they've tested this, and it's somewhere between 1 and 3 emojis in that subject line is the key to success. Now, the subject line has got to be fairly generic, okay? We don't want a big, strong call to action. Definitely do not use COVID in your subject lines because you will be marked as spam immediately. So pro tip, do not use COVID or pandemic or anything like that within the subject lines like ever. Okay. Even after we get through this whole thing, don't ever use it because your emails will automatically just go to spam. Try not to use things like just listed and just sold because people will just tune those out unless, of course, it's relevant to the audience. So coming back to list segmentation and understanding who your list is and what the conversation should be about. So if you're sending out an email to active buyers and you want them to understand that there are some really great properties that were just listed, or maybe there's some off-market opportunities, think about using those types of subject lines in that email versus, a past client database or past client list. You're not going to use just listed or just sold in that subject line because it's not really relevant to their funnel and relevant to the position that they're in at this moment, which is typically not going to be in a purchase or a sell type of an arrangement. So subject line, absolutely important. We'll get into that in just a little bit. The second part of that is the preview. So when you actually go and open up an email from, a list like after post webinar, you guys are going to be added into a list. There's I've set up a campaign in Infusionsoft. You're going to get hit with, I think, probably about 5 or 6 emails over the course of the next month or 45 days or however I've structured it. Okay. Within that email, you're going to get the subject line and then you're going to get a little snippet of what that email is about. You're going to see that in your mobile opens as well as, on your laptop as well. What that preview line is basically giving the reader an understanding of what that email is going to be about, or allowing you an opportunity to provide a hook within that preview. So it would be, that subject line would be keeping the just listed and just sold. If we're just talking to our past client database, it could be something like tax assessments are due or tax assessments are right around the corner. And then the preview line would be what you need to know or how I can help you, or are you thinking of disputing your tax assessment? This is how we do it. Something along those lines. We want a hook that's going to pull people into the email to digest the content to allow them an opportunity to engage with you. Okay. Number 3, again, we've already kind of touched on that. Not writing huge, long paragraphs. Understand the type of device that a lot of your clients are probably going to be looking at your email on. So, understanding that if you write a 4 or 5 sentence paragraph in that email, it's going to come out looking like the entire screen on a mobile device, especially a phone, probably not an iPad. All right. Your stats are your thing. If you're on this call right now and you're an engineer, I implore you, please try to keep it to 3 to 4 data points. That's it. That's all you need, right? If people want more information, then that should be your call to action. If they want more information on their neighborhood, if they want to be added to your home equity update that you're going to send out once a year, these are the types of things that you want them to take action on. And so don't overwhelm them. People will tune out as soon as math is involved or numbers are involved. People's eyes will start to gloss over and you're going to lose them immediately. So try to keep the data points interesting and try to keep them to only 3 or 4. All right. Writing engaging subject lines. I touched on this a little bit in the previous slide. So be descriptive, but not trendy. So again, try to stay away from seasonal slogans or just listed, just sold. There's actually been statistics or studies that have been done around this, and keeping your subject line short, trying to keep it to 9 words or about 90 characters is key, right? We don't want big, long subject lines. You're not trying to write the entire email in the subject and the preview line. The whole idea around the subject line is to hook people in, try to get them to open up that email, try to get them to understand that there's something interesting. And remember, guys, you were trading, this is a currency trade, okay? You were trading information for their attention. You have to understand that. Gary Vee has said this for a very, very long time. He says, attention is the new currency. And I would say, to kind of add to that, or maybe even alter it just a little bit, but attention is not the new currency. Attention has always been the currency, right? So think about that, walking through the mall and seeing big signs on the outside of stores right now, Boxing Day blowout sales, that's your attention. You're going to walk by a bookstore or clothing store, whatever, Sephora, perfume store, you're going to see 50% off, 75% 80% off, 90% off. Is that going to drive you into that store? Probably, because it's designed to grab your attention, right? So think about that from, an email marketing perspective. Understand that the subject lines should be designed to grab the attention of the reader, pull them into the email, and hopefully your email is engaging enough and interesting enough that they're going to take action, follow that CTA, that call to action, and either give you a call, send you an email back, or shoot you a text. However, you try to promote that CTA. So again, going back to 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 emojis in the subject line, making sure that it's relevant and relevant to the topic of the content, and then try personalizing the subject line with merge tags. So if you haven't done a lot of email marketing, utilizing a program like MailChimp or ConvertKit or Constant Contact, iExact Contact as well. I was just into that program here over the holidays. Most of these programs have merge tags. And what a merge tag is let's say you've got a list of 1,000 people, okay, and you want to send out an email to 1,000 people, and you've got all of their first names. A merge tag would be something that pulls their first name in from that list. So you have a salutation, right? So it says, "Good afternoon, John." So the emails that you guys were getting from Demio, the webinar product that I utilize, that you're watching this webinar on right now, you probably got emails that were addressed to you specifically. It's because the emails that were put together by Demio, an hour out, 15 minutes out, they actually utilize merge tags within their email. So it personalizes the email, right? So utilizing merge tags, it seems like something very, very, simple, but it's highly, highly effective. Now, I just saw somebody post this here on Instagram. Somebody, or actually I think it was Facebook, they took a screen grab of an email that they got from an online marketer trying to sell them some sort of a product. And it said, "Hey, F name." And the F name is the merge tag. And for whatever reason, the marketer forgot to, put the, fully put in the merge tag the way that it was designed to pull in the information from whatever platform they were using. And so the email that got sent out said, "Hey, F name." And so that's why it's super important if you're putting content together to make sure to test the email, not just once, but twice, 3 times, 4 times, right? My old pappy always used to say, measure twice, cut once. So this is the same sort of thing. Make sure that you are testing, making sure that the subject lines look good, the links that you're putting into the email work properly, and that the F name isn't in there, but it's actually pulling in the person's first name or the salutation that you want to utilize. All right, I'm going to take a quick drink of water here. Number 5, tracking, measuring, and understanding the metrics. Probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see, email marketers, real estate agents make is not understanding the key metrics that will allow them to, craft their content, and not only just their content, but also the time of day that they send the email out, to the actual day that they send the email out. I got a lot of emails on December the 24th, and to be quite honest with you, I was checked out by then. Right. I was not checking my email. Anybody that was sending me an email on December the 24th, they either got an unsubscribe, an unfollow, or I just deleted the email altogether because I just wasn't interested in what they were selling. Right. So understanding that the time of day, the day of the week actually matters. Okay. So keeping track of some of this stuff. If you guys are just getting into this, if you're utilizing a freemium program, like I believe MailChimp, I mentioned MailChimp a few times. I don't get paid by MailChimp. It's a product that I use, but it isn't really one that I endorse. I use it because it's very, very easy to me. I use Infusionsoft and I use MailChimp. The reason why I like them both is because there's different metrics. There's different data points that each program pulls in that one program won't pull in, but the other will. So things like, within MailChimp, it will actually recommend to you the best time of day to send the email off to your database, right? So if you go, and so it's based off of the past emails that were sent. It's all the data that is collected from your account. It's based off of the past emails that you've sent, the times of days, and then based on those open rates. And so it's going to match up all of that data. It's going to calculate the average, and it's going to make a suggestion to you. So what I would suggest is, if you're just getting started, try to test some of this out. So, your first email of the month, try sending it out on a Wednesday morning. The next email that you send out in a month, try sending that out on a Friday afternoon. keep in mind that they get to their desk, right? Whether they're working from home or they're back in the office again, they're typically going to be opening up their laptop and going through their emails at what time? Probably somewhere between 8 o'clock and 9:30 in the morning. And then when they get home again, they're probably going to be opening up their personal emails and going through those emails sometime between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock, and sometimes a little bit after that. Now, they're also going to be checking their emails on their phones at what time? Probably around lunchtime, right? So you could be looking at sending anytime between 11 and 1 p.m. So I just gave you three different times that you could start to look to send those emails out, sometime between 8 o'clock and 9:30, 11 and 1 o'clock, and then somewhere between 4 and 6 p.m. So if you're sending out emails at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, your open rates are probably going to be really, really low, and the opportunity for engagement are probably also going to be equally as low. Okay, so continually test those times, understand how your audience reacts to the content that you're sending out. Once you find a solid time and date, just make it repeatable. Okay. Unsubscribes. This is something that a lot of agents are really afraid of. I mean, if you've got a database, my client database is over 4,000 people. Okay. And so that includes my past clients, that includes my current clients, includes active buyers, active sellers. It includes online leads that I've been collecting for like the last 5 or 6 years. Okay. So I've got a massive list. Whenever I send out an email, I always get a certain amount of unsubscribes. Okay. And I'm not overly worried about that. What I'm worried about is when I check the unsubscribe, the person that unsubscribed from the email, if it's a client that's unsubscribed, I don't get all freaked out. I don't start to get upset. What I do is I typically pick up the phone and I make a call. I use that as an opportunity to actually reach out to my database, reach out to that person that unsubscribed. Because, I'll tell you, this works absolutely perfect. It's really difficult for somebody to say, actually, yes, I unsubscribed from your content because it was shitty. Okay. It's really difficult for them to say to you over the phone, just like it's very difficult for somebody to say no to your face. Right. So if you pick up the phone and you make that call and say, hey, Johnny, it's Kelly calling from, ABC Realty. I'm just calling to say, hey man, you unsubscribed from my email list. Just curious, was that a mistake, or, am I doing something to piss you off? Or, oh, by the way, how are you doing? How's the family? What have you guys been up to? Did you guys get out for the winter? Did you get out for the summer? Working through those forward calls, right? That acronym, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. So, using that as an opportunity, don't cower, don't go back into your hole, don't, get upset and bummed out. Just understand that the unsubscribes are an opportunity for somebody that's got a database of 4,000 people, and I get a certain amount of unsubscribes, and I can tell you, I go through each one of them and I identify whether they're a client or not. I pick up that phone, I make that call. If they're an online lead that got added to my list, 4 years ago, listen, I'm okay with that. That just means that they are probably out of the funnel. And what I'm doing is I'm narrowing my funnel. I'm narrowing the amount of people that are paying attention to the content that I'm sending, which allows me a greater opportunity to potentially reach out, or for them to reach out to me in the future, right? So all you're doing is you're narrowing the funnel. I was at an Infusionsoft conference back in 2016 in Phoenix, Arizona, and I listened to Ryan Deiss of Digital Marketer. He was on stage and he said something that really caught my ear, and it was, he who has the biggest list wins, right? And so, what he was talking about is obviously email marketing, his email list, and the person that's got the biggest list wins. But basically what he said was, if you've got a number of different unsubscribes that are coming in on a monthly basis, don't worry about it, because what you're doing is you're narrowing the funnel. You're getting the people that are really interested in the product or the service that you're selling. Those people are the ones that are going to stay on the list, and then you then have a greater opportunity to actually sell your services or your wares or your products to those people. All right. So why should you care about email marketing? Well, think about it as a way to stay in flow. Think about it as a way to engage. Think about it as a way to connect. Think about it as a way to continue that conversation that you were having with those buyers, with that seller, right? We get into these really intense conversations with our buyers. We're out showing them 20, 30, 40 properties. And remember, guys, I'm an active agent, right? I sell real estate. I understand the process. I know what it's like. It's been very rare in my career where I've shown one property and that was it. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And they're out the door, right? Typically it's anywhere from 15 to 20, sometimes 30 properties that you're showing. And so that provides a great opportunity for a lot of conversation. So think about it from this perspective. Do you want to have those conversations throughout that process? And then after the transaction is complete, basically shut the door, put them onto a list and push out the content. Like I said at the beginning of this webinar, the 750 different ways to clean out your gutters. No, probably not. Why? Because they're probably going to tune you out. They understand people are not stupid. They understand that they've been moved onto a list. But if they feel like you're sending them an email personally and the email is coming to them and it's addressed to them in their salutation, and you're able to push that content out to them with a strong call to action for them to call you or text you, there's a good opportunity that you're going to be able to stay within that flow, within that conversation that you started, those many months ago. So if you don't know what to say, if you're just getting started, start with just a reintroduction email. I know, one of the people that I had on my beta test group before I launched Rewritten, I know that she's on the webinar today, and I'm not going to mention who it is, but, this is somebody that I worked with, over the course of the last couple of months. And one of the things that she came to me with was, hey, listen, I haven't sent these guys anything for like 7 years. I don't even know what to say. So I said, okay, well, let's come up with a strategy around a reintroduction email. Let's get you putting some content together that's just kind of reintroduce who you are, what you do, what you've been up to, reintroduce the family to them if that was a conversation that you had with them, and get them understanding that you're still in the business and that you're still around. And so she did that. And I think she generated a 68% open rate, wound up getting a seller lead out of it as well as a buyer lead out of it. I don't know if they turned into deals or not, but, really good opportunity there, right? So understanding your target audience, again, I talked a little bit about list segmentation. So this is defined as a division of marketing into select groups based on a variety of factors such as needs, characteristics, and behaviors, so that the application of the marketing mix can be appropriate to the individual. Exactly everything that I've just been saying about list segmentation, guys. If you've got a good list of people, 300, 400, 500, 100 people in your database, okay? If you're just new to the business, you've only been doing this a couple of years and you've sold a few homes, and you've got some online leads in there, and you've got some current buyers and you've got some current sellers, look at the list, put them into an Excel spreadsheet and start to segment the list. That's as easy as I can make it, okay? Go into an Excel spreadsheet, copy the people that you've got in there, start to separate them out, understand who the past clients are, save that as a CSV file, okay? And then your current clients, your active buyers, your active sellers, save those as two separate CSV files. And then go into your email platform, whatever you're using, Constant Contact, ConvertKit, Infusionsoft, MailChimp, whatever program, whatever platform you're using, take those spreadsheets and upload them into those programs as your new audiences or your new lists. Now you've segmented your list. Now you have a good understanding of who your lists are, and then now what the strategy is going to be around the conversation that you're going to have with them. So different lists require different conversations. Again, current buyers, things like e-alerts, market updates. You could be utilizing top producer or prospects, right? Sending out, market specific reports around neighborhoods that the client is potentially interested in. Current sellers, again, you're going to come back to market updates and neighborhood specific type market reports along with weekly listing updates. So any seller, any property that I list, I set them up in our matrix system. I set them up on a current e-alert for their neighborhood for any new property that pops up specific to their property type. I want them to understand who their competition is, who the new listings are as well. I set them up so that they're on a sold e-alert as well. So any property within that neighborhood that they're listed in, they're getting an email from me as soon as a property sells in the neighborhood. So keeping in contact with them, utilizing the programs that we have available, and then, basically just systemizing this, right? Database, SOI, and past clients. So the current buyers, current sellers, you're probably going to wind up using, Gmail or Outlook or Hotmail or Ymail or whatever email program you're using. I'm a Gmail user myself, but a lot of your current buyers, your current sellers, you're probably going to wind up having, in a list or, sending one-off sort of thing on a weekly basis to them. Now, I wouldn't necessarily put them into a MailChimp list and start sending them, stuff like keeping in contact type content. What I want you guys to focus on is your current buyers and your current sellers, your database and your past clients, your sphere of influence. That's the type of stuff that should be really in the list. So think about it from this perspective. You're working with a buyer, you close them into a transaction, you take their email, you move them into the MailChimp list or the database list. And now they're going to start to get those bi-monthly content that you're going to be sending out to them, every single month. The current buyers, the current sellers, it's going to be more or less just one-offs that you're going to be sending, unless you want to include them into the database. That's totally fine too. I've done both, and quite honest with you, I think my client base, my database appreciates both of it. So the more communication that you can have with your current buyers and your current sellers, the better, for sure. All right. I've talked quite a bit about these different providers. So ConvertKit, GetResponse, Aweber, Infusionsoft, Constant Contact, MailChimp. A lot of these providers, they have freemium versions. So definitely check them out. Go to their websites, check out, see what their cost is. A lot of these providers will charge you based on the size of your list. So through MailChimp, I've got over 4,000 subscribers in there. I think they charge me about $99 US per month. Infusionsoft is a little bit more expensive. So, try to look for the program that's going to be the most cost effective for you. Now, something that I want, I touched on this, the one-offs that you're going to send out through Outlook and Gmail and Yahoo and Ymail and whatever else. That's really, really important, really important to do. Staying in contact with those buyers and sellers. This is what not to do. Stay away from sending mass emails to, 100 people, 200 people, 500 people, 1,000 people through any one of these platforms. And the reason being is because these platforms don't allow for an opportunity to unsubscribe from your database, from your email list. And part of the CAN-SPAM Act, you have to provide that opportunity for someone. If you're sending out mass marketing emails, you have to provide them an out. So just keep that in mind. All right. Just the last bit of advice before I let you guys go. We're about 35 minutes into this thing. I promise to try to keep this as short as I possibly can. I know we're New Year's Eve, a couple days away from the new year. So hopefully you guys are getting something from this. Email is definitely essential to staying in contact. It allows you to stay in contact at scale, en masse, right? If you're not sure how to start or what to say, start with a small, simple reintroduction email of who you are, what you do, what's going on with the family. Don't be afraid to personalize this. One of the most responded to and opened email that I've ever sent out had to do with a medical situation that I was going through back in 2017. I wound up with gallstones. I had to get my gallbladder removed. And, I basically put my journey into this email. I quit drinking for almost a year, started eating really healthy, got away from the fatty foods. It just was kind of a wake-up call to me. So I decided to put this into an email. And the next thing you know, I'm just flooded with phone calls and text messages and responses to this email. Now, did I get business out of it? Yeah, actually, I got 1 or 2 listings out of it, but that wasn't the goal. The goal was just to stay in contact with my database and let them know what I was going through, with the hopes that I was going to be able to help somebody if they were going through the same thing. So one last piece of advice, start with 1 email per month, put it in your calendar as part of your marketing efforts. Try to keep the content relevant to the list, okay? Try to keep it relevant to the list. All right. So if you're interested, if you want my top emails based on open rates, after this webinar is done, like I said, you guys are going to get hit with an email. There's either the Get Started Guide or the email my top emails. I've got 12 emails that I put into a PDF, basically based on open rates, my best emails that I've sent over the course of the last 5 years. If you're interested, you guys can send me an email, Kelly@rewritten.com. So that's KELLEY at rewritten, REWRITTN.com. And my contact information is right here, guys, Kelly@rewritten.com. You guys can call me, text me, whatever you like, 403-827-7527. If you guys have any questions about email marketing, how to get started, hopefully this provided some value to you guys. Hopefully you're going to take some action in 2021. I think email is a very relevant, very clean way of communicating with our clients, giving you every opportunity to generate repeat referral business and leading with value, guys. Don't think for 1 second that, this email marketing thing is all about selling. In order for your client base, your database, for you to keep top of mind and for them to continue to open up those emails that you send, the emails have to be funny. They have to be engaging, and they have to be chock full of value. Otherwise, your audience is just going to tune you out. So keep that top of mind. Again, if you have any questions, if you want to connect in any way, if you want to check out Rewritten, if you want to get an understanding of what it is that Rewritten provides to you, give me a call, shoot me an email. Hope you guys have a fantastic 2021. Almost at the end of the year, guys. 2020 is almost over. Thank you so much for your attention. And we are out. Have a great day, guys. Take care.